I'm Mustafa Ong. I'm sure if your bloggers you know me. But I'm a very dedicated government servant for 24.5 years. And I work both in the foreign sector as well as the home sector. Nanti lah, coba.
You can make the question quickly.
Question first. All right, question first. I have one very important question that I would like to address to Dato' Ambiga. You were telling us about vote buying in Sarawak, which I agree. I don't dispute that. But I am a Chinese by birth, but a second generation Muslim, but I've been brought up in a Malay environment in Kelantan and also in Johor. Now I would like to say that whether the Chinese they like me or not, because Chinese are compulsive gamblers. And I want SPR to go into that, the MACC to go into that, whether there is a truth that they will vote buying through gambling. We are compulsive. Most of Malaysians, we see we are compulsive gamblers. So SPR and MACC, it is their duty to go in there and investigate this problem of vote buying. I don't agree vote buying, but it's vote gambling. That's number one. I hope Dr. Ambiga will go into that. Seriously.
Okay.
Number two. One more question. Okay. One more question, very, very simple. Dato' Wan Ahmad Omar was talking about the inefficiency in the National Registration Department. You know, when you report death and all that, it goes to them, right? And they have to change the database. Right? But unfortunately, in the government for 34.5 years, I can safely say that most government ministries and departments are not efficient enough. That's the point. But if they are not efficient enough, even we have the best system like the biometric, we cannot base on the database in the department, which is correct. I agree. Because then we find people who died 100 years ago, their names are there because they are not efficient.
And the question is? The
question is, how are we going to amend it? How are we going to relate to the National Registration Department and ensure that they have a updated kind of database so that the SPR can follow that and make everybody happy. Okay, and everybody can go.
Thank you. Thank you. Saya minta Datuk ada dua soalan. For you first and for me.
Saya nak jawab soalan tadi dulu ya. Sebab ini salah satu benda yang saya baca media, banyak orang buat macam-macam persepsi ya. Kita ada pendatang tanpa izin, kita ada orang yang memegang kad nalang merah di negara kita ini. Baik. Kalau tuan-tuan faham, orang-orang politik Suhaizan mungkin faham cara sistem apa nama ni kita membuat pendaftaran pemilih. Sesiapa yang mendaftar sebagai pengundi dia kena tunjuk my card. Okay. Setiap orang ada 12 digit identifier nombor my card ni. Right. Apabila dia daftar sebagai pengundi, the moment kerani SPR key in the 12 digit identifier, terus keluar sama ada orang tu warga negara atau bukan warga negara. Kalau orang tu bukan warga negara, sistem akan terus reject because everything is computerized. Baik. Jadi sistem akan reject. Sistem akan reject kalau ada pendatang tanpa izin, pemegang kad merah nak cuba mendaftar, nak menipu. Kalau ada wakil parti politik yang nak cuba mendaftar orang nak menipu. Sebab itu sistem akan reject. Sebab itu minggu lepas SPR mendedahkan ada beberapa penolong pendaftar pemilih yang kita lantik cuba nak menipu SPR, menyerah borang-borang orang yang tidak layak. So kita ada sistem. Kita dah beri taklimat pada semua wakil-wakil parti politik yang kita lantik sebagai penolong pendaftar ni. Sistem kita tidak boleh ditipu because it is all online checking. Kalau the person is bukan warga negara, terus keluar bukan warga negara, tak layak. Nak tekan pun the next system tidak akan terima lagi dah because it already locked there. Jadi itu satu. Satu, jadi jangan risaulah kita ada ramai pendatang asing. Kita jangan risau. Jangan risau. Hanya warga negara saja yang akan berada dalam daftar pemilih. Baik. Dan warga negara tu sekarang ni memang bukan semuanya hidup. Daftar pemilih kita ni 12 juta saya sebutkan. Tiap-tiap hari ada orang meninggal dunia. Tiap-tiap hari ada orang meninggal dunia. Apabila orang tu meninggal dunia, dia dah jadi nama saja ada, tapi body dah meninggal dunia. Tetapi walaupun anak saudara dia telefon SPR, pakcik saya dah meninggal dunia, there is nothing SPR can do. Dia kena pergi ke Jabatan Pendaftaran Negara, update. The moment dia pergi ke Jabatan Pendaftaran Negara, update, in fairness to Jabatan Pendaftaran Negara, straight away dia akan update, because they are using computer system now. Jangan kita kata dia tidak cakap ke apa. Saya dah tahu sangat perkara ni. The moment saudara kita pergi lapor dia meninggal dunia, dia minta permit mengubur. Tunjuk permit mengubur, then terus dia key in semua dalam permit mengubur tu, semua ada nombor markat everything. Key in, kuk meninggal dunia. The moment dia klik meninggal dunia, SPR punya database meninggal dunia. It's just like that. Tak, tuan-tuan tak buat kerja, tuan-tuan tak tahu.
Okay. So tadi Prof ada soalan mengenai government efficiency. Introduce lah macam mana sekalipun sistem yang baik-baik, tapi the government machinery is still inefficient. So macam mana nak address?
Saya ini makin lama saya duduk ni, saya terasa jadi pelakon tambahan. Ada hero, ada heroin. Saya tak tahu saya orang jahat ke orang baik. You tell me one government which is efficient. You tell me one, then I will answer your question. Why the Singapore government? Which government in the world is efficient? British government? I don't like to be hacked. So, therefore, it's not assumption. The reality is there are varieties of inefficiency and levels of inefficiency. The question now is, how can we track this inefficiency? How can we map out this? I think that is the one that we have to think about. We are not going to abolish like the way we want to abolish poverty. Poverty is always there. The middle class now, I call it invisible poverty. There's an invisible poverty among the middle class. They have very small disposable income because they're all on higher purchase now. So they have no money to eat. So it's very difficult to abolish poverty, as much as very difficult to abolish efficiency. But we must keep track. And of course, movement like this and groups like this, it's our job to keep track. And I think what Bersih is doing, partly, is looking at that. So this issue like that. So it's embedded in what Bersih is trying to do, is that tracking that efficiency. Even though they didn't put number 9, government inefficiency. I mean, that's what I feel. So, you are government servant for 34 years, you have proclaimed publicly that inefficient. What more evidence you want?
Ramai lagi angkat tangan. So I think your suggestion mengenai Bersih patut look into vote buying, I think we'll just take that as a suggestion and we can move on. Yang baju Manchester United.
Saya. Terima kasih. Nama saya Kamarudin Ahmad. I'm a lawyer asking a question to a fellow lawyer, Dato' Ambiga. From a lawyer to a lawyer. Based on our constitution, I would just like to know, apa selepas 9 Julai, are you going to hold more unlawful illegal assembly and violate the rule of law? Adakah nak mencabut keluhuran undang-undang? Negara ini ada undang-undang. Kita rakyat Malaysia menghormati perlembagaan persekutuan. Kita orang Melayu terima semua sebagai warga negara Malaysia. Kita terima. Orang Melayu terima, orang India, orang
Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, saya minta tolong duduk dan tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Now, is about illegal assembly. Are you going to have more?
Okay. Let me answer it lawyer to lawyer. And also let me say I'm not offended by your question one bit. Okay? This is a discussion. I'm glad you asked it. It's bothering you. I want to respond. Now, under the Federal Constitution, there is a right under the Federal Constitution, Article 10, to freedom of assembly. Right? There is also provision, and as I say, because I'm answering a lawyer, I'm talking to you, there is also provision for Parliament to enact laws in the interest of public security, etc., to restrict, to a certain extent, the right. The problem is that the Police Act and those laws don't just restrict the right. In my view, they actually completely take the right away. And if any legislation takes away a fundamental right under the Federal Constitution, it is void, in my view. And therefore, you cannot restrict a right to the extent that it becomes illusory, meaningless, no point having. To me, you want to match the Constitution with the law, the Constitution is supreme. So, as far as that is concerned, that is the basis upon which we took the action that we did. Now, what after this? I think that was the other question of the gentleman. What after this? What after this depends on, Dato' Wan, depends on the response to the Bersih request, which, you see, none of the requests have been said to be unreasonable. Is there anything unreasonable in what we've asked? Answer no. Nobody can say it's unreasonable. Is it good for the country? Yes. Therefore, it really depends on the response that we get. And this engagement, and that's why I thank Sinar Harian, this is exactly what we need. This is what we need. And I'm now going to ask Dato' Wan, and by the way, Dato' Wan is a brave man sitting here, okay, and I respect him for that. The whole of the EC should be sitting here backing him up, but they sent Dato' Wan. Dato' Wan, my request to you, openly, in public, are you prepared, is EC prepared, and you have the powers, by the way, under Section 5 of the Elections Act, you have the power to delegate to a committee, any of your powers. Are you prepared to set up a committee comprising representatives from each political party, as well as NGOs, who will look into all these issues, you know, things like double entry, people who are transferred, all these issues, so that you have a committee who is looking at it, and maybe in 3 months, they can come up with a report as to how the electoral roll can be cleaned up. Because I think you also have a problem because of the IC department. I appreciate that. This is why I'm worried about the biometric, because we're going to rely on the IC department whose record keeping is not great. That, to me, is a problem. So maybe give it 3 months, give this committee 3 months, let them look at all the complaints, let everybody come forward with all their complaints, let them look at it, and then you may need to actually pass some legislation. I agree there too. You may actually need some enactment to allow you to clean up the electoral roll. But are you prepared to accept that?
Okay, that's an open challenge, but I think, Dato', I'm not going to allow you to answer that, because my feeling is, the audience is going to get emotional one way or another. So, can I suggest that you take the suggestion from Dato' Ambiga, and hopefully there will be more conversations after this, especially behind closed doors. Okay?